Okay. Con. Nope. All right. I see how to. Okay. All right. Let me see how to. All right. All right. Con. All praises. So I don't know why I'm in the corner like that, but I guess that's just how it's got to be. All right. So all praises. All right. So we're gonna get into the book of Esther. All right. We'll get into the book of Esther. Um, we're gonna kind of go through it a little bit, talk about what Purim is about, through the spirit, man, and when Purim is. All right, so Purim, if you in our congregation, if you keep the full moon as the new moon, this year it'll be March 8th through the 10th. All right, and Nicanor will be March 7th. All right, March 7th. So it'll be March 8th through the 10th will be Purim. All right, we're gonna go through it. We're gonna kind of read it a little bit and try to understand uh what it's about. Why we keeping it as a feast day, right? Why we keeping it as a memorial, rather. All right. So let's start at verse 1. Let's read. So it says, now it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus, Asa, uh, Ah, Ahasuerus, and it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus. This is Ahasuerus which reigned from India even unto Ethiopia over 107 and 20 provinces. All right. So 127 provinces he reigned over in from India to Ethiopia. That in those days when King Ahasuerus sat on the throne of his kingdom, which was in Shushan the palace, in the third year of his reign, he made a feast unto all his princes and his servants. The power of Persia and Media, the nobles and the princes of the provinces being before him. So he was ruling over Persia and Media, right? So this is after Babylon. Okay, this is after Babylon has fallen and he's in power now, right? So let's keep going. It says, when he showed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the honor of his excellent majesty many days, even 100 and 80 days. All right, so 180 days he was just showing off his palace. It says, and when these days were expired, the king made a feast unto all the people that were present in Shushan the palace, both unto great and small, 7 days in the court of the garden of the king's palace, where were white, green, and blue hangings fastened with cords of fine linen, and fastened with cords of fine linen and Salakia, purple to silver rings and pillars of marble. All right, Salaki, real quick. Let me do something real quick. All right, Salaki. All right, so he got a beautiful palace. He got white. You got to understand, to get these different colors like this at this time, it was no small feat, right? He had white, green, blue hangings fastened with cords of fine linen and purple to silver rings and pillars of marble. The beds were of gold and silver upon a pavement of red. This man had red pavement and blue and white and black marble. So this was a magnificent palace that he was living in and that he was showing off. It says, and they gave them drink in vessels of gold, the vessels being diverse from one another. and royal wine in abundance, according to the state of the king. All right, so they throwing it up, right? So he balling out, he having this big banquet. It says also Vashti the queen made a feast for the women in the royal house, which belonged to the king Ahasuerus. Queen, all right, now it's getting here. It says Queen Vashti's refusal. So this is how Esther kind of moved up in her spot, because basically, long story short, um, long story short, uh, the king tried to bring Vashti out to show her off, and she didn't want to come out, right? She didn't want to come out. She refused to come out, right? So because of her refusal, that's how Esther moved up in her spot. She moved up in her stead and became queen, right? So I'm gonna jump down. I'm gonna go to chapter. I'm gonna go to chapter 2 and verse. Let me see. Let's go to chapter 2. Right. Let's go to chapter 2, because this is after Vashti didn't want to come out. Starting at verse 1. It says, after these things, when the wrath of King Ahasuerus was appeased, he remembered Vashti and what she had done and what was decreed against her. Then said the king's servants that ministered unto him, let there be fair young virgins sought for the king. So they're like, look, let's get you some more little baddies, right, to replace her. It says, and let the king appoint officers in all the provinces of his kingdom, that they may gather together all the fair young virgins into Shushan the palace, to the house of the women, unto the custody of the hedge of the king's chamberlain, keeper of the women, and let their things for purification be given them. Right. So they like, look, we'll go get you a bunch of little baddies, and we'll put them, get them ready, get them purified. Right. We don't know who been dealing with them. We'll let them get purified up, smelling good and clean. Right. It says, and let the maiden which pleaseth the king be queen instead of Vashti. And the thing pleased the king, and he did so. Now in Shushan, the palace, there was a certain Jew whose name was Mordecai, the son of Jair, the son of Shemi, the son of Kish, a Benjamite. So Mordecai is a Benjamite. He's from the tribe of Benjamin, right? And I was going to get it in here. It says, who had been carried away from Jerusalem with the captivity, which had been carried away with Jeconiah, king of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had carried away. So he was in Babylon a little bit, right? It says, and he brought up Hadassah, that is Esther. So Esther's real name is Hadassah, his uncle's daughter, right? So this is his uncle's daughter. This is his cousin. Mordecai and Esther are cousins. It says, for she had neither father nor mother, and the maid was fair and beautiful, whom Mordecai, when her father and mother were dead, took for his own daughter. So Mordecai raised Esther after her father and her mother died as his own daughter, but it was biologically, this was his cousin. Okay, all right, so let's keep going. It says, so it came to pass when the king's commandment and his decree was heard, and when many maidens were gathered together into Shushan the palace, to the custody of Haggai, that Esther was brought also unto the king's house, to the custody of Haggai, keeper of the women. So they brought Esther out too, because she was beautiful, right? Let's keep going. It says, and the maiden pleased him, and she obtained kindness of him, and he speedily gave her her things for purification. He like, let me go on and hurry up and get her cleaned up, because she bad. Right? It says, with such things as belong to her, and 7 maidens, which were meet to be given her. So meet, they fit her, right? He gave her 7 other women that were fit for her to help her with whatever she needed out of the king's house. And he preferred her and her maidens unto the best place of the house of the women. So they stayed in the biggest room in the house for the women. And it says Esther had not shown her people nor her kindred, for Mordecai had charged her that she should not show it. So what does that mean? Esther was what you would say, she was racially ambiguous. You couldn't look at Esther and tell that she was necessarily a Jew, right? Let's get a precept. Let's go to the book of Hosea. Esther was racially, what you call racially ambiguous. Hosea chapter, hold on, let me look for it real quick. Not Hosea, it's in Esther, I mean not Esther, Jeremiah. Jeremiah chapter 12 and verse number 9. Right? It says, mine heritage is unto me as a speckled bird. The birds round about are against her. Come ye, assemble all the beasts of the field, come to devour. So Israel, the heritage, the Lord's heritage is Israel. So he says, it's like unto me as a speckled bird. It's got, you got all shades in Israel, right? Everybody don't all look the same, right? Today, you got more of a uniformity. More Mexicans look more like each other. You know, a lot of, you could tell if somebody's Levi or Haitian, so-called Haitian or Jamaican, right? But we still kind of all mixed up, right? So point being, Esther was able to hide her race. She didn't just look like a Benjamite, right? Because Mordecai told, he was like, look, don't tell him that you a Jew or from the tribe of Benjamin, right? He charged her that she should not show it. It says, and Mordecai walked every day before the court of the women's house to know how Esther did and what should become of her. So he was checking on Esther every day, right? It says, now when every maid's turn was come to go in to King Ahasuerus, after that she had been 12 months according to the manner of women, for so were the days of their purification accomplished, to wit, 6 months with oil of myrrh, and 6 months with sweet odors, and with other things for the purifying of women. So this man, he let these women sit, right? He let that thing kind of cool off. He let the women sit for 12 months. He was like, for 6 months, you're going to soak in some oil of myrrh, and 6 months, you're going to soak up in some sweet odors and other things for purifying of women, right? No smell coming from women, right? Our women knew how to take care of themselves back in them times, right? And they still do today, something, you know, for the most, some of them, right? When they, all praises, right? Let's keep going. It says, verse 13, then thus came every maiden unto the king. Whatsoever she desired was given her to go with her out of the house of the women unto the king's house. In the evening, she went, and on the morrow she returned into the second house of the women, to the custody of Shazgaz, the king's chamberlain. So a chamberlain is somebody basically that watches over the women to make sure ain't nobody coming in and dealing with the king's women, which kept the concubines. She came in unto the king no more, except the king delighted in her, and that she were called by name. Right? It says, now when the turn of Esther, the daughter of Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai, who had taken her for his daughter, was come to go in unto the king, she required nothing but what Haggai, the king's chamberlain, the keeper of the women, appointed. And Esther obtained favor in the sight of all them that looked upon her. So Esther she was beautiful, but she wasn't like real high maintenance, so to speak, for lack of a better word. She didn't come in and saying, well, I need this, this, and this, and that. You know, she was a wise sister, and she was, you know, likable for that, right? It says, so Esther was taken unto King Ahasuerus into his royal in the 10th month, which is the month Tebeth, in the 7th year of his reign. All right, so the king decided to rock with Esther. It says, and the king loved Esther above all the women, and she obtained grace and favor in his sight more than all the virgins, so that he set the royal crown upon her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. So he had all these women, but out of all of them, he liked Vashti, right? He liked Vashti. It says, then the king made a great feast unto all his princes and his servants, even Esther's feast. And he made a release to the provinces and gave gifts according to the state of the king. And when the virgins were gathered together the second time, then Mordecai sat in the king's gate. Esther had not yet showed her kindred nor her people, as Mordecai had charged her. For Esther did the commandment of Mordecai, like as when she was brought up with him. So she was still, listening to her Mordecai, who she seen as her dad. All right, let me see. I'm gonna jump down a little bit. Let's go to the next chapter. So Esther became the queen, right? So now we getting into Haman, right? This man named Haman. When you read about Haman in the Apocrypha, in the additions to Esther, they took part of the book of Esther out. In order to read the rest of it, you have to have a Bible with an Apocrypha or an Apocrypha separate, right? So Haman, or Amon, as they said in the Greek, is what you would call an Agagite. All right, it's going to get into that. All right, it says, after these things did the king Ahasuerus promote Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, and advanced him and set his seat above all the princes that were with him. Now, why is it important to know that Haman was an Agagite? Right, let's go. Let me open up another sword. Why is it important to know that Haman was an Agagite? Open up another sword. All right, let's go to the book of 1 Samuel. Chapter 15 and I'm going to start at verse 1. Now, the Agagites come from Agag, right? Agag is an Edomite, all right? Was the king of the Amalekites, right? So let's get this. 1 Samuel 15 and I'm going to start at verse 1. It says, Samuel also said unto Saul, the Lord, so this is Saul's disobedience, right? He didn't listen to the Lord. All right, Saul's disobedience. It says, Samuel also said unto Saul, the Lord sent me to anoint thee to be king over his people, over Israel. Now, therefore, hearken thou unto the voice of the words of the Lord. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, I remember that which Amalek did to Israel. So Amalek, the Amalekites are Edomites. It says he remembers what they did to Israel, how he laid wait for him in the way when he came up from Egypt. Now go and smite Amalek and utterly destroy all that they have, and spare them not, but slay both man and woman, infant and suckling, oxen, sheep, camel, and ass. It says, so Saul instructed Samuel instructed Saul to go and kill Amalek, right? He told him to kill everything and everybody concerning them, right? Let's jump down to verse 7, right? It says, and Saul smote the Amalekites from Havilah until thou comest to Shur, that is over against Egypt. And he took Agag, the king of the Amalekites alive. So he took Agag alive. He didn't kill him. Now, when you keep reading, you read that Saul ended up killing Agag. He hewed him into pieces, right? But this is how you know that he still had like some stragglers out there. He still had like some kids. He was a king, so he was probably dealing with a lot of women, and he still had some other children and descendants out there that was able to get away. This mistake from Saul ended up costing us all the way till you get to the book of Esther, all the way after Babylonian reign till you get to the Persians and the Medes, right? So this is Haman, the Agagite. He's a descendant of Agag and a descendant of the Amalekites, thus making him an Edomite, right? So this what this wicked demon did, right? Let's read about it. It says, and advanced him. King Ahasuerus advanced him. He promoted him, right? Now, Haman had something in his mind that he was planning to do the whole time. He was not a friend of Ahasuerus at all, right? Let's get another precept. All he was trying to do was unite, was to get Greece built up and put there beside the Persians and the Medes, and then allow them to take over. Right? Let me get this, and y'all bear with me. My first time using the StreamYard and having to use it on Google. Let me see. There we go. All right, Con. All right, let's go to the book of. Let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 12 and verse 10. Right? This is what you have to do when you're dealing with these Edomites. You have to watch them. Right? Sirach 12 and 10 says, never trust thy enemy, for like as iron rusted, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass. And thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away. So Esau is the wicked, right? He is your enemy, right? He says, though he humble himself, Haman is going to do that, right? Throughout history, this is how they move. When they know they can't just go up against you right away, they humble themselves and go crouching. They pretend to be on your side, right? Verse 12 says, set him not by thee, lest when he hath overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. And this is what Haman was doing to Ahasuerus. He was seeking to take his seat. He sat him by him and then realized what kind of man he was dealing with. And thou at the last remember my words and be pricked therewith. Right? So let's go back to Esther, dealing with Haman, dealing with this demon, right? It says, verse 2, and all the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed and reverenced Haman, for the king had so commanded concerning him. But Mordecai bowed not, nor did reverence him. Mordecai, like, man, I don't give a damn about no Edomites. I'm not bowing down to you, bruh. It says, then the king's servants which were in the king's gate said unto Mordecai, why transgressest thou the king's commandment? Now it came to pass when they spake daily unto him, so they every day, bro, just bow to him, right? When they spake daily unto him, and he hearkened not unto them, that they told Haman to see whether Mordecai's matters would stand, for he had told them that he was a Jew, right? So they like, look, we know you a Jew. You don't realize what you getting yourself into, bro. So it says, and when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of wrath. See, it says, so Haman got mad, right? It says, and he thought scorn to lay hand on Mordecai alone, for they had showed him the people of Mordecai. Wherefore Haman sought to destroy all the Jews that were throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus, even the people of Mordecai. So this is pretty much what the gist of the story of Esther is about. You got this wicked man Haman on here trying to wipe out the Jews, and this is how it all started by Mordecai not bowing down to him when he came walking through, right? So he's gonna kind of ease up under King Ahasuerus, right? Watch this. It says in the first month, that is the month Nisan, in the 12th year of King Ahasuerus. I keep saying Ahasuerus. They cast Pur, that is the lot, before Haman from day to day, and from month to month, to the 12th month, that is the month Adar. All right. So we in the month of Adar right now. All right. So this is all this stuff that's gonna happen is gonna take place within 30 days. It says, and Haman said unto King Ahasuerus, there is a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all provinces of thy kingdom. So now he easy slithering up under Ahasuerus, trying to get him to wipe us out. He says a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people. That's Israel. We the ones scattered out, right? It says in all the provinces of thy kingdom, and their laws are diverse from all people. So everybody know we got laws that's diverse from everybody. Everybody know that, right? They like, look, these people don't eat no pork. They dress different. They women dressed. They got the most beautiful women, right? Everybody knows that about us, right? And they know that our God is the God of Israel. Even when you read the book of Judah, right? All these people know this about us. It says, neither keep they the king's laws. Therefore, it is not for the king's profit to suffer them. He like, look, they don't even keep your laws, king. Right? It says, if it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed, and I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those that have the charge of the business, to bring it into the king's treasury. And the king took his ring from his hand and gave it unto Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the Jews' enemy. The Jews' enemy. Right? So the Agagites, the Amalekites have always been our enemies. From the time that when we was first coming up out of the wilderness, they was our enemies. Right? Watch this. Now we're going to get a copy of that letter. See, this is why you got to have the Apocrypha, so you can read the rest of your Bible, because they took it out. All right, let's go there. Additions to Esther. Let me go to it in my Bible first. And we're going to read verse. We're going to go to, let me go to it on here. Additions to Esther. And yeah, I need the copy of the letter. Okay, so chapter 13 is the copy of the letter that Ahasuerus, it say Artaxerxes. That's how you say it in the Greek. All right, Ahasuerus or Artaxerxes writeth these things to the princes of the governors that are under him from India unto Ethiopia and in 107 and 20 provinces. So this is what he wrote down. It says, after that, I became Lord over many nations and had dominion over the whole world, not lifted up with presumption of my authority, but carrying myself always in the equity and mildness, with equity and mildness. I purpose to settle my subjects continually in a quiet life, and making my kingdom peaceable and open for passage to the utmost coast, to renew peace, which is desired of all men. So he's saying this is the type of king I am. I carry myself in mildness, and I basically care about everybody around me having peace, right? It says, now when I asked my counselors how this might be brought to pass, Amen is Haman. It just says Amen because this is a Greek. They rewrote it in Greek, right? It says that excelled in wisdom among us and was approved for his constant goodwill and steadfast fidelity, and had the honor of the second place in the kingdom. So Haman was up high. He was under the king, right? It says, declare unto us that in all nations throughout the world, there was scattered a certain malicious people that had laws contrary to all nations, and continually despised the commandments of the kings, so as the uniting of our kingdoms honorably intended by us cannot go forward. So that's the way Haman spun it. So this is what you got to know about this devil, right? He the same person as today. Same person today. They're going to always try to make it look like the Israelites are against everybody, Salakia, everybody uniting, everybody having world peace. They gonna always try to point the finger at us and say that we're why they can't have it, right? It says, seeing then we understand that this people alone is continually in opposition unto all men, differing in the strange manner of their laws, and evil affected to our state, working all the mischief they can, that our kingdom may not be firmly established. This is how they talk about us, man. Right? So when you read and getting into the spirit of Purim, it's with the understanding that all nations have always been against us, right? We have to kind of huddle up with each other and deal with each other and be amongst ourselves, because all these other nations are against us. They see us as a problem. They're gonna continue to see us as a problem. It's just like we was at camp the other day, right? They already starting to get tired of us, right? The police pulling up to that Dollar General every Saturday because of us, because we teach the laws of the Most High. We out there telling the women that they can't dress immodest, that the men can't smoke dope, right? That you gotta take care of your family. You have to keep the laws, and they think they look at that as evil, and they look at that as working mischief, that that their kingdom cannot be firmly established. Right? It says, therefore, have we commanded that all they that are signified in writing unto you by Amen or Haman, who is ordained over the affairs and is next unto us, shall all with their wives and children. So the wives, y'all not getting away either. I'm gonna tell you something, man. If you are a woman in this truth, and you are married to a man that goes out and teaches the Bible, understand you got a target on your back. You are just as under the scope as that man is, and your children. This is why you have to be in the same spirit as your husband. You have to be in the same spirit as your husband, right? Let me get a precept. All right, let's go to the book of Sirach. I'm gonna need a few swords. So, matter of fact, I'm gonna just read it out of my Bible. The book of Sirach, chapter 37, and verse number 12. Right? It says, but be continually with a godly man, whom thou knowest to keep the commandments of the Lord, whose mind is according to thy mind, and will sorrow with thee if thou shalt miscarry. Right? So you want to be in the same mind and the same spirit as your spouse, right? Your husband. You can't be with a man, with a brother that's in this truth, and he mighty in the spirit. He want to do the work of the Lord, and you kind of just sitting over there, right? It's not gonna work, right? Because when he's gonna be ready to die. When he's ready to die, what you gonna do? Right? Same thing with some of you. Sometimes you got sisters that's mighty in the spirit, that's ready to do the work of the Lord. And then they husband kind of just sitting over there in the cut, don't want to do nothing, right? Or sometimes you got the husband and the wife that's mighty doing the works of the Lord, and the children don't give a damn about the Lord. Right here, what we reading, it says, with their wives and children be utterly destroyed by the sword of their enemies. This is a decree that they put out. They didn't care if you was a woman or a child. Without all mercy and pity, the 14th day of the 12th month Adar of this present year, they put out a law, basically. Kill all them niggas, they wives and their children. That's what they said, right? It says that they who of old and now also are malicious may in one day with violence go into the grave, and so ever hereafter cause our affairs to be well settled and without trouble, right? So this is what Haman got put into play, right? This is what he got put into play, right? So let's go back to Esther. So that's the letter that he had written. All right, let's read verse 11. Verse 10 again. It says, and the king took his ring from his hand and gave it to Haman. So basically, he gave him like his stamp, his signet, his ring was like, okay, this legit. This came from the king, right? So whatever Haman that little demon wrote down, he could just stamp it with the king's letter, and it was gonna go forward. All right, it says, and the king said unto Haman, the silver is given to thee, excuse me, the people also, to do with them as it seemeth good to thee. So he like, look, here go the money, and here go the people that'll kill him, right? It says, then were the king's scribes called on the 13th day of the first month, and there was written according to all that Haman had commanded unto the king's lieutenants, and to the governors that were over every province, and to the rulers of every people of every province according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language. They wrote a copy of it in every language. In the name of King Ahasuerus was it written, and sealed with the king's ring. Says, and the letters were sent by post into all the king's provinces to destroy, to kill, and to cause to perish all Jews, both young and old, little children and women. Little sisters, y'all gotta be in the spirit too. The kids gotta be in the spirit too, right? Don't be trying to shield these kids off and paint a picture of this world that's not real. Hey, from the time your child put them fringes on, you need to tell them that they got a target on their back, that people want to kill them now. You need to start telling them the truth. Don't just pacify them and tap them on the butt and try to make them think everything okay. No, you an Israelite. You got a target on your back, and you got people that want to kill you because you claiming to be a Jew, right? And you are a Jew. It says, in one day, even upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month Adar, and to take the spoil of them for a prey. Take everything that they got. The copy of the writing of the commandment to be given in every province was published unto all people, that they should be ready against the day. So it was going to be all, basically, wherever they seen Israelites, and they knew you was an Israelite because you had your fringes on. Wherever they seen the Israelites, they was going to be like, okay, there go one on. There go one with the fringes on. There they go right there. They was going to be chasing them down, right? This is what you had going down, man. Let's go down. Let's keep going. Let's skip around a little bit. All right, let's go back. So they put this letter out. Let me go back and Esther in my Bible. All right, so it says Esther learns Haman's plot. All right, so it says, let me read from verse 1. It says, when Mordecai perceived all that was done, Mordecai rent his clothes and put on sackcloth with ashes and went out into the midst of the city and cried with a loud and bitter cry. So all this started because Mordecai wouldn't bow down to that demon. It says, and it came even before the king's gate, for none might enter into the king's gate clothed with sackcloth. It says, and in every province, whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, there was great mourning among the Jews, and fasting, and weeping, and wailing, and many lay in sackcloth and ashes. So you got to put yourself in the mind state of our people at this time. Everybody who knew they was a Jew was mourning. They was mourning because they like, dang, on the 13th day of Adar, they finna kill us. They finna put us all to death. It's basically an all for all, a free fall on all of us, right? This is so Esther's maids and her chamberlains came and told it her. Then she was then was the queen exceedingly grieved, and she sent raiment to clothe Mordecai and to take away his sackcloth from him. But he received it not. Because she knew he couldn't be up there with that on. So she tried to send him some clothes, but he wouldn't take it. Then called Esther to Hatak, one of the king's chamberlains, whom he had appointed to attend upon her, and gave him a commandment to Mordecai to know what it was and why it was. So Hatak went forth to Mordecai unto the street of the city, which was before the king's gate. And Mordecai told him of all that had happened unto him, and of the sum of the money that Haman had promised to pay the king's treasuries for the Jews to destroy them. So he let them know like what's going on. Esther sent Hatak to go find out what was going on, and he told now Mordecai's like putting him up on what was happening. It says, also he gave him the copy of the writing of the decree that was given at Shushan to destroy them, to show it unto Esther, and to declare it unto her, and to charge her that she should go in unto the king to make supplication unto him, and to make request before him for her people. So Mordecai like, look, tell Esther she got to go talk to the king. She close to the king like her, he dig her, right? She got to go talk to the king. And Hatak came and told Esther the words of Mordecai. Again, Esther spake unto Hatak and gave him commandment unto Mordecai. All the king's servants and the people, all the king's servants and the people of the king's provinces do know that whosoever, whether man or woman, shall come unto the king into the inner court, who is not called, there is one law of his to put him to death. So basically, she like, look, I can't just go talk to the king. Even though he liked me, I can't, you couldn't just go talk to the king. He had to call you in there, right? And this is how he did it. It says, except such to whom the king shall hold out the golden scepter, that he may live. So if you just walked in there to the king, if the king didn't extend that scepter, then you died on the spot. She said, but I have not been called to come in unto the king these 30 days. She hadn't seen the king in a month, right? And they told to Mordecai Esther's words. Then Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, think not with thyself that thou shalt escape in the king's house more than all the Jews. So he like, look, baby girl, you got to go talk to the king. If you don't think just because you the queen and that he like you that you're going to escape all the judgment as your people, right? For if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place, right? So he like, look, if you don't go talk to the king, we'll get our deliverance from another place. Somebody else gonna rise up for us. So like, he like, look, if you don't do it, the Lord will use somebody else to do it. But thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed. And who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this? Right? So he like, look, you don't look. This is probably the whole reason why the Lord allowed you to become the queen, so that you could save your people. Right? Let's get a precept. Let's go to the book of Proverbs. This is why you can't, when stuff happen in life, man, you got to kind of understand that everything is of the Lord, right? Proverbs 20 and 24. It says, man's goings are of the Lord. How can a man then understand his own way? Right? So everything that you do, everything, everywhere you go, the people that you meet is of the Lord. You didn't just choose to get up and go to the grocery. You thought it was you, right? The Lord, like Mordecai, like, look, this the reason you became queen. You became queen. The Lord made you become queen so that you could save your people, right? Let's go back. All right, so it says, I don't know if y'all can see that. Let me see. So when I switch it over to another screen, y'all can't see it. You can only see this screen. Okay. I'll keep that in mind. So y'all didn't see when I had Esther, the letter up there on the screen. Okay, con. All right. All praises. All right. So he like, look, you gotta go do it, or the Lord will use somebody else. Right. So verse 14. It says, for if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place, but thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed. And who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this? Then Esther bade them return Mordecai this answer. Go. So now she's sending her response back. It says, go gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan and fast ye for me. So she was scared, right? She like, look, go get all the Jews and y'all fast for me. Neither eat nor drink 3 days, night or day. I also and my maidens will fast likewise. And so will I go in unto the king, which is not according to the law. And if I perish, I perish. That's a mighty sister right there, man. She was scared though. She was scared at first, right? Her cousin had to get her spirit built up and tell her, look, if you don't do it, you might still die, right? He had to build her spirit back up real quick, right? Hold on real quick. Let me now I'm gonna get the rest of Esther. All right, let me get the rest of it. So now we finna go in the Apocrypha and I'm finna show y'all what she did. All right, I'm gonna show y'all what this sister did behind closed doors to get herself ready. Hold on. I think it's chapter 13, note 14. Right. So this is what we want right here. Right. So it says additions to Esther chapter 14, verse 1. It says Queen Esther. So this after she told Mordecai, look, y'all go fast for me. Me and my maidens gonna fast. She was like, look, if I die, I die. Right. So verse 1. Queen Esther also being in fear of death. Okay. Okay, con. Right, verse 1. Queen Esther also being in fear of death resorted unto the Lord. So when she got scared, she resorted unto the Lord, right? She prayed, she fasted. It says, and laid away her glorious apparel and put on the garments of anguish and mourning. So she took them princess, them queen garments off. She took all that off, right? And it says she put on the garments of anguish and mourning. And instead of precious ointment, she covered her head with ashes and dung. Now, how many of us got that type of spirit? Instead of her crown, she took the crown off and put ashes and feces on her head. And she humbled her body greatly. And all the places of her joy she filled with her torn hair. Right? She tore her hair out. She was tearing her hair out, right? And she prayed unto the Lord God of Israel, saying, "O my Lord, thou only art our king. Help me, desolate woman, which have no helper but thee." So she didn't enjoy being the queen. Watch this. For my danger is in my hand. From my youth up, I have heard in the tribe of my family that thou, O Lord, tookest Israel from among all people, and our fathers from all their predecessors, for a perpetual inheritance. And thou hast performed whatsoever thou didst promise them. So this is how you gotta talk to the Lord, man. You gotta sometimes you gotta remember, make the Lord, not that he's gonna forget, but you gotta call to the remembrance to the Lord the things, the great things that he's done. Right? You gotta call them things to remembrance. All right, hold on. Why is it not showing? Why is it not showing? Hold on, man. I don't know why it's not showing. I don't know why it's not showing the screen that I got the scriptures on. I don't know what's going on, man. Hold on. Bear with me, man. Uh present, share screen. Uh, okay. Chapter 14. All right. There we go. I don't know. I'm gonna get good at it, y'all. I'm gonna get better at it. It's my first time. All right, so so she took off all her beautiful clothes and she put ashes and dung on her head. It says, and she humbled her body greatly, and all the places of her joy she filled with her torn hair. And she prayed unto the Lord God of Israel, saying, "O my Lord, thou only art our king. Help me, desolate woman, which have no helper but thee, for my danger is in my hand." She like, look, I'm gonna be in danger based on what I do. If I go in there and just try to talk, that mean, you know what that mean? That means she done seen people try to go and approach the king and get put to death on the spot. She done seen it. That's why she's scared, right? From my youth up, I have heard of my tribe, of my family, that thou, O Lord, tookest Israel from among all people, and our fathers from all their predecessors, for a perpetual inheritance. And thou hast performed whatsoever thou didst promise them. And now we have sinned before thee. So this is what you got to do. You got to admit, you got to have accountability in this truth. You can't serve the Lord without accountability. The first thing she said, she look, we have sinned before thee. Therefore hast thou given us into the hand of our enemies. It's our fault, right? Because we worship their gods. Oh Lord, thou art righteous. Ain't nothing wrong with the Lord. Nothing's wrong with him. Right? Let me get this precept in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 'Hold on. It's the one that say, we said the Lord's ways are not right. Hold on, here it is. Ezekiel chapter 18 and verse 25. I'm just gonna read it in my Bible because till I can figure out that screen. I don't want to lose my spot. Right? Ezekiel chapter 18 and verse 25. It says, yet ye say, the way of the Lord is not equal. Hear now, O house of Israel, is not my way equal and not your ways unequal? So it's like that's the type of people we are. We was like, the Lord ways ain't equal. But he like, look, my ways is equal. Y'all ain't the ones y'all the ones who ain't right. Right? And this what Esther is doing. She's taking accountability. She's like, look, because we worship their gods. O Lord, thou art righteous. Nevertheless, it satisfieth them not that we are in bitter captivity, but they have stricken hands with their idols. Right? It ain't enough that we in captivity. We still want to worship their idols. That they will abolish the thing that thou with thy mouth has ordained, and destroy thine inheritance, and stop the mouth of them that praise thee, and quench the glory of thy house and of thine altar, and open the mouths of the heathen to set forth the praises of the idols, and to magnify a fleshly king forever. O Lord, give not thy scepter unto them that be nothing. What she called them? Nothing. Give not thy scepter unto them that be nothing. We always knew that they was nothing. And let them not laugh at our fall, but turn their device upon themselves, and make him an example that have begun this against us. She like, look, make Haman an example, because he the one who started this against us. Remember, O Lord, make thyself known in time of our affliction, and give me boldness. So she knew she didn't have that boldness. She asking the Lord to give it to her. She like, look, I'm scared. Give me boldness. Hey, you might have to ask the Lord for boldness, right? You might have to ask. You might be scared to wear fringes every day. You might be scared to go out on the streets and teach. You might be scared to go out and read in front of you. No matter what it is, but you gotta have boldness in this thing. You can't serve the Lord and not be bold. You gotta be bold, right? The righteous are as bold as lions. If you righteous, you're gonna be bold. If you keeping the law and you love the law, part of keeping the law is loving it, right? If you doing that, you're gonna be bold, right? It says, O King of the nations and the Lord of all power, give me eloquent speech in my mouth before the lion. That's what they used to call Ahasuerus, the lion, right? She said, give me eloquent speech. You might be a brother that you might say, dang, I know the scriptures, I understand them, but my speech ain't eloquent. Or you might not like to read because you don't read the best. These are things you got to pray to the Lord for. You see, Esther, she like, give me eloquent speech in my mouth before the lion. Turn his heart to hate him that fighteth against us. She's like, look, make him hate Haman, that there may be an end of him, and of all that are like-minded to him. This the kind of spirit you gotta have, man. You can't love them heathen because they don't love you. They always been against us, right? It says, but deliver with thine hand and help me that am desolate and which have no other help but thee. Thou knowest all things, O Lord. Thou knowest that I hate the glory of the unrighteous and abhor the bed of the uncircumcised and of all the heathen. She like, look, I don't even like being the queen. I don't like having to lay with him. I don't like the glory of the unrighteous. Thou knowest my necessity. You know what I need, for I abhor the sign of my high estate. She like, look, I hate wearing this crown, which is upon my head in the days wherein I show myself, and that I abhor it as a mistress rag. She like, look, that damn crown is like a tampon, a used tampon. That's what she's saying. She looks like a mistress rag, and that I wear it not when I am in my private by myself. She like, look, when I'm by myself, Lord, you know, when I'm by myself, I don't even put this crown on. They say, and that thine handmaid have not eaten at Amon's table, and that I have not greatly esteemed the king's feast, nor drunk the wine of the drink of offering. She like, look, and that's spiritual. She like, look, and they be kicking doctrine at this table. I ain't listening to or getting swayed by none of that doctrine that they talking, right? Or literally drinking the wine, right? It says, neither had thy handmaid any joy since the day that I was brought hither to this present, but in thee, O Lord God of Abraham, O mighty God above all, hear the voice of the forlorn and deliver us out of the hand of the mischievous and deliver me out of my fear. She said, deliver me out of my fear. This is what you got to do, man. If you scared, admit it. This how you overcome these demons, man, these spirits. A lot of us don't want to admit what the spirit is we got on us. It could be a spirit of fear, hatred, right? Greed, jealousy, whatever it is. You got to admit that you're dealing with that thing, and you got to pray for the Lord to deliver you from it. And he will, right? That's what he did for Esther. Let's go back. Let's go back to Esther. I forget where we was at. Chapter 4, I think it was. Right? So that's what she did when she was by herself. Right? Yeah, that's what she did when she told in chapter 4 and verse 16, when she told Mordecai, she was like, look, you and all the Jews, y'all go fast for me, right? You gonna have to call a fast with your brothers and your sisters that you know, if you know you got a certain spirit on you. Look, this is where honesty come in, right? She like, look, I know I'm scared, so y'all go fast for me, because you can't just say, y'all let's fast and nobody don't know what we fasting towards, right? She Mordecai understood that she was scared. So when he went and told all the Jews, let's fast together, what you think he told them they was fasting towards? Look, Esther scared. Let's fast that the Lord take that spirit of fear off of her, right? That's how we gotta be. We gotta be open and honest with our brothers and sisters about what we dealing with, right? And so that we can get on one accord and fast these demons off, pray these demons and these spirits off, right? It's the spirit of Purim, man. We get each other gifts, but it's deeper than that, right? So let's go back. Let me go back in my Bible. All right, so let's go to chapter 5, yeah. Right, so it says, now it came to pass on the third day that Esther put on her royal apparel and stood in the inner court of the king's house. So now she done got looking good. She done put on her royal apparel. She going to see the king over against the king's house. And the king sat upon his royal throne in the royal house over against the gate of the house. And it was so when the king saw Esther, the queen, standing in the court, that she obtained favor in his sight. And the king held out to Esther the golden scepter that was in his hand. So Esther drew near and touched the top of the scepter. Right? So she walking over to him, right? Esther was bad, right? She walking over to him. So she using her beauty to get advancement for her nation, right? It says, and Esther answered, if it seemed good to the king, let the king. Now look how she talking to the king. Look how she talking to him. If it seemed good unto the king, let the king and Haman come this day unto the banquet that I have prepared for him. So she talking to him with great respect, right? She talking to this heathen with great respect. She know he's nothing, but she's still talking to him with great respect. How many of y'all sisters talk to your head like this? If it seemed good to you, babe, Lord, if it seemed good to you, should we eat this tonight? What you say, how you talk to him, right? Side note, verse 5. Then the king said, cause Haman to make haste, that he may do as Esther has said. You see, when you talk to the king with respect, he give you what you want, right? So the king and Haman came to the banquet that Esther had prepared. And the king said unto Esther at the banquet of wine, what is thy petition? Whatever you want. What you want, babe? Because she talked to him right. And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request? Even to the half of the kingdom it shall be performed. So not only did she have that beauty, she knew how to talk to the king. She knew how to be, right? She wasn't a nigger woman or a manly woman. She's talking to him any type of way. She was soft and gentle. If it seemed good to the queen, to the king, can we do this? Right? It'll give you half the kingdom if you do that. Right? Let's keep going. Then answered Esther and said, my petition and my request is, if I have found favor in the sight of the king, and if it please the king to grant my petition and to perform my request, let the king and Haman come to the banquet that I shall prepare for them, and I will do tomorrow as the king has said. Then went Haman forth that day joyful and with a glad heart. But when Haman saw Mordecai in the king's gate, that he stood not up nor moved for him, he was full of indignation against Mordecai. He hated Mordecai, right? Because Mordecai didn't show him no type of respect. Nevertheless, Haman refrained himself. And when he came home, he sent and called for his friends and Zeresh, his wife, right? Salaki. So basically, what's going to happen is, I'm going to jump around a little bit. So the decree is still out there to kill all the Jews, right? So Haman basically going to talk to his wife, and she going to say, look, set up some big poles and hang Haman and his whole house on them, right? So let's jump to man, it's really hard not to read all of this. Matter of fact, let's do it. Let's keep reading. Right. So it says, and Haman told them of the glory of his riches and the multitude of his children and all the things wherein the king had promoted him, and how he had advanced him above the princes and servants of the king. So he over there flossing at the house. Right. Haman said, moreover, yea, Esther the queen did let no man come in with the king unto the banquet that she had prepared but myself. And tomorrow I am invited unto her also with the king. So he happy that he coming to this banquet, right? It says, yet all this availeth me nothing, so long as I see Mordecai the Jew sitting at the king's gate. So he like, look, I got all this status, but I can't get this dang on Jew Mordecai to bow down to me, right? So it says, then said Zeresh his wife and all his friends said unto him, let a gallows be made of 50 cubits high, and tomorrow speak thou unto the king that Mordecai may be hanged thereon. Then go thou in merrily with the king unto the banquet. And the thing pleased Haman, and he caused the gallows to be made. So they like, look, put some gallows up. Gallows is basically big poles, right, to hang somebody on, right? So she like, look, put some gallows up and hang that nigga on him, right? She ain't right either. His rib ain't right either, right? On that night could not the king sleep, and he commanded to bring the book of the records of the chronicles, and they were read before the king. And it was found written that Mordecai had told of Bigthana and Theresh, two of the king's chamberlains, the keepers of the door, who sought to lay hand on the king Ahasuerus. And the king said, what honor and dignity have been done to Mordecai for this? Then said the king's servant that minister unto him, there is nothing done for him. So they like, look, did we look out for this brother for helping me out? They like, nah, we ain't do nothing for him. And the king said, who is in the court? Now Haman was coming to the outward court of the king's house to speak unto the king to hang Mordecai on the gallows that he had prepared for him. And the king's servants said unto him, behold, Haman standeth in the court. And the king said, let him come in. So Haman came in, and the king said unto him, what shall be done unto the man whom the king delighted to honor? So Haman so puffed up with pride, he thinking that he just want to honor him. So watch what he do. It say, now Haman thought in his heart, to whom would the king delight to do honor more than to myself? He thinking in his mind, of course he want to honor me, right? So look what he say. He said, and Haman answered the king, for the man whom the king delighted to honor, let the royal apparel be brought, which the king useth to wear, and the horse that the king rideth upon, and the crown which is set upon his head. And let this apparel and horse be delivered to the hand of the one the king's most noble, to the hand of one of the king's most noble princes, that they may array the man withal whom the king delighted to honor, and bring him on horseback through the street of the city, and proclaim before him, thus shall it be done to the man whom the king delighted to honor. So he thinking this is for him. This is why he's saying do all this. Then the king said to Haman, make haste and take the apparel and the horse, and as thou hast said, and do even so to Mordecai the Jew that sitteth at the king's gate. Let nothing fail of all that thou hast spoken. Then took Haman the apparel and the horse, and arrayed Mordecai, and brought him on horseback through the street of the city, and proclaimed before him, thus shall it be done unto the man whom the king delighted to honor. And Mordecai came again to the king's gate, but Haman hasted to his house mourning, having his head covered. Right, so he pissed off because he thinking that all that was gonna be for him. Right, it says, and Haman told Zeresh his wife and all his friends everything that had befallen him. Then said his wise men and Zeresh his wife unto him, if Mordecai be the seed of the Jews, Salakia. It says, if Mordecai be the seed of the Jews, before whom thou hast begun to fall, thou shalt not prevail against him, but shall surely fall before him. And while they were yet talking with him, came the king's chamberlain and hasted to bring Haman unto the banquet that Esther had prepared. Right? So they like, look, you ain't gonna be able to do nothing with him if the king started honoring him. Right? So let's see. All right, so let's read this. Chapter 7. So the king and Haman came to the banquet with Esther the queen. And the king said again unto Esther on the second day at the banquet of wine, what is thy petition, Queen Esther? And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request? And it shall be performed, even to the half of the kingdom. Right? So he like, look, what you want, baby? You can have it, even up to the half of the kingdom. Let me know. Then Esther and the queen answered. Then Esther the queen answered and said, if I have found favor in thy sight, O king, and if it please the king, let my life be given me at my petition, and my people at my request. For we are sold, I and my people. So now she's revealing to him she's a Jew, to be destroyed, to be slain, and to perish. But if we had been sold for bondmen and bondwomen, I had held my tongue. Although the enemy could not countervail the king's damage. Then the king Ahasuerus answered and said unto Queen Esther the queen, who is he and where is he that durst presume in his heart to do so? So he like, who want to kill you and your people? And Esther said, the adversary and enemy is this wicked Haman. Then Haman was afraid before the king and the queen. So Haman sitting at the table eating, and she done told the king, look, I got an enemy, and it's him. So he you got to put yourself in this scene, man. It's fun. He probably over there eating some damn shrimp and lobster, right? Chowing down on all type of abominations, bacon. Next thing you know, he stopped because she done pointed at him and said that he the enemy, right? It says, and Esther said, the adversary and the enemy is this wicked Haman. Then Haman was afraid before the king and the queen. And the king, arising from the banquet of wine in his wrath, went into the palace garden. And Haman stood up to make request for his life to Esther, the queen, for he saw that there was evil determined against him by the king. Then the king returned out of the palace garden into the place of the banquet of wine. And Haman was fallen upon the bed. Oh, Salaki, man. Salaki. It says, then was Haman fallen upon the bed whereon Esther was. Then said the king, will he force the queen also before me in the house? So it looked like Haman was like laying all over the bed, begging the queen, right? As the word went out of his mouth, out of the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face. And Habarna, one of the chamberlains, said before the king, behold, also the gallows 50 cubits high, which Haman had made for Mordecai, whom had spoken good for the king, standeth in the house of Haman. Then the king said, hang him thereon. So they hanged Haman on the gallows that he had prepared for Mordecai. Then was the king's wrath pacified. Man, you can't help but smile when you read this, man. You see what your enemy meant for bad for you turn out for good for you and bad for them. You can't help but smile at that, man. Right? This is what Purim is about. Understanding that the Lord is gonna turn. Let me get this in Job. Right? We'll come back here. Esther chapter 8. Job chapter 5 and verse 12. It says, he disappointed the devices of the crafty so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. Right? So the Lord always disappointed the devices of the crafty so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. He turned that plot that Haman had upside down, and the petition was instituted through fasting and prayer. Right? That's just to humble herself and went and stripped off them royal garments, put ashes and dung on her head, right? And she was sincere. She sincerely didn't like being in the king's house. She was sincere, right? So Haman got put up on them gallows. Let's go back. So Esther chapter 8, we was in. Let me see if I'm gonna read all that. Right. So basically, I'm gonna run it down. Basically, what ends up happening is the king reverses the letter. Right. He sends out another letter saying, look, don't kill these Jews. And matter of fact, anybody that was trying to kill the Jews can kill their enemies now. Right. So I'm gonna jump to chapter 9. He disappointed the devices of the crafty. Right. So chapter 9 and verse 13, it says, then said Esther, if it please the king, she's still talking so respectful. If it please the king, let it be granted to the Jews which are in Shushan to do tomorrow also according unto this day's decree, and let Haman's 10 sons be hanged upon gallows. Right? So his 10 sons got hanged up. Right? It says, oh no, I want to say it was something I wanted in chapter 8 and 13. Let me get that. Right. So it says the copy of the writing for a commandment to be given in every province, which was published unto all people, and that the Jews should be ready against that day to avenge themselves of their enemies. So remember, Haman had the letter wrote that we was gonna get killed. Esther got the king to turn it around. So Mordecai, he dripped out. He got purple on. He riding around on a horse. He got the king's hat, crown on. Esther got put up on high. I mean, Mordecai got put up on high, right? And it's all because that sister was mighty in the spirit. She went out there and fasted. She humbled herself and she confessed that she was scared and got up out of that, right? So now let's go to chapter 9, right? All right, verse 20. So this is the establishment of Purim, right? Esther chapter 9 and verse 20. It says, and Mordecai wrote these things and sent letters unto all the Jews that were in all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus, both nigh and far, to establish this among them, that they should keep the 14th day of the month Adar, and the 15th day of the same month yearly. So this is where we get the memorial of Purim from. It's about the Lord turning what the enemy meant for bad for us upside down and putting it against them and bringing us into salvation, giving us salvation at a time where it seemed grim for us, right? This is what it's all about. This is what Purim is about, man. So understand that it's not just about giving gifts. It's not just about just or anything else. It's about giving gifts, but it's about like the victory that the Lord gave his people. Because we was all supposed to get put to death on the 13th of Adar, right? So it says to establish this among them that they should keep the 14th day of the month Adar and the 15th day of the same month yearly, as the days wherein the Jews rested from their enemies, and the month which was turned unto them from sorrow to joy. So this definitely a feast day you can't be walking around sad, man. This definitely one you got to be turned up. You got to be having a good time, because you got to have in your mind you supposed to be dead, and the Lord delivered you from your enemies, man. and from mourning into a good day, that they should make them days of feasting and joy, and of sending portions to one another and gifts to the poor. So this is why we give things to one another, but we also go out and we give gifts to the poor, right? This is what Mordecai, this is how he wrote it up, right? And the Jews undertook to do as they had begun, and as Mordecai had written unto them, because Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the enemy of all the Jews, had devised against the Jews to destroy them, and had cast Pur, that is the lot, to consume them and to destroy them. Right? So we got to see our enemy put down. Let me get this precept in Sirach. I think it's 25. Let me see. Where is that one? Hold on, let me see. It's a precept that say, yeah, Sirach 25 and verse 7. Right? It says, there be 9 things which I have judged in my heart to be happy, and the 10th I will utter with my tongue. A man that hath joy of his children, and he that liveth to see the fall of his enemy. Right? So it's a joyful thing to live to see the fall of your enemy. Right? Our enemy is Esau. We'll be so blessed to be able to make it to see the fall of our enemy. Right? And this is what they got to do. They got to see the fall of Haman, the man who was trying to put them to death and get the whole nation of Israel killed, man. Right? So it says, but when Esther came before the king, he commanded by letters that his wicked device, which he devised against the Jews, should return upon his own head, and that he and his son should be hanged on the gallows. Wherefore they called these days Purim, after the name of Pur, because the lot got cast for us. Right? So we beat the lot. That's what Purim is about. We beat the lot, right? We beat the odds. That's what we beat. That's what it's about. Beating the odds, man. And here in captivity, the odds is stacked up against you. You got all the odds stacked up against you to make you fall out of this truth, right? Here in Babylon the Great. It says, therefore, all the words of this letter and of that which they had seen concerning this matter, and which had come unto them, the Jews ordained and took upon them, and upon their seed, and upon all as such joined themselves unto them, so as it should not fail, that they would keep these 2 days according to their writing, and according to their appointed time every year. So we keep the Feast of Purim, man. It's a beautiful thing. All right, let's go. Let me go back in my Bible real quick. All right, so let's keep going. Every year we keep it. It says, and that these days should be remembered and kept throughout every generation, every family, every province, and every city. And that these days of Purim should not fail from among the Jews, nor the memorial of them perish from their seed. So it's a memorial, right? It's not a high holy day. It's a memorial. It's a time to remember the victory that the Lord gave us. It says, then Esther the queen, the daughter of Abihail, and Mordecai the Jew wrote with all authority to confirm this second letter of Purim. And he sent the letters unto all the Jews to the 127 provinces of the kingdom of Ahasuerus with words of peace and truth to confirm these days of Purim in their time appointed, according as Mordecai the Jew and Esther the queen had enjoined them, and as they had decreed for themselves for their seed the matters of the fastings and their cry. And the decree of Esther confirmed these matters of Purim, and it was written in the book, right? And that's what we have, the book of Esther, right? So Purim about beating the odds, man. Beautiful story. We didn't read it all. We read like the pretty much the key points, right? But it's a beautiful story. If you haven't read it, go back and read it on your own, right? So Purim this year, like I said, March 8th through the 10th, right? That's gonna be Purim, man, and we look forward to getting together with everybody, gathering together, and enjoying this time and this victory that the Lord gave us, man. It's a beautiful time, nothing like it, man. All the feast days, all the memorials, they all have high significance, and you can go dive deep into them things, man, through the Spirit and pull a lot out of them. We kind of just covered the surface of it, and why we should be keeping it. All right, so let me see something. Let me go back here. All right, so all praises and honor to the Most High God, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai's brother Nashan, New Wine Congregation of Israel. And with that, I'm going to say Shalom.